Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this My Forever Home live. I do need to catch myself not saying your forever home because, as you've probably seen from a live that I did a week or so ago, the name has been changed from your forever home to my forever home. So, this is the regular monthly touch in I do with this very special group, renovating and building your forever home. And the first Tuesday of every month, I'm here to answer your Q&A. And I've got a very regular lady who pops in and always asks a question, CJ. So I'll get to her question. But today I put out a post last week around what are some of the really big challenges. If you could wave a magic wand, what would be the big thing that the magic wand could just make disappear? And there were lots of comments back from Nash, choosing bench tops and cabinetry, and I've referred that lady to the podcast. And one of the things that came up, which I'm really passionate about, that I wanted to touch base today, was around floor plans. And Laura Beth had actually said just really struggling to get the floor plan right. And this is something that I encounter so frequently with our clients, with people that want to touch base with me, they book a chat with me, really struggling to get the floor plan right. And I suppose the very first thing, so that's what I'm going to talk about today. And I'm also going to cover off a couple of other Q&As. And then right at the end today, I would love to actually ask you a question. So I've created a little poll, and hopefully I'm not technically challenged, and I can ask you a question at the end too. So please stay on and help me with a little question that I've got. So let's chat about floor plans for a moment. So Laura said, I'm really struggling to get my floor plan right. And what I often see is that clients or people that I just see that, ask me questions about their floor plan, they're trying to solve the problem themselves. And that's not really what you employ an architect or a building designer or a draftsman to do. That's actually their job. So you shouldn't feel like you've actually got to create the solution to a floor plan that's not working for you. I think that's the very, very first thing I want to make really clear. It's not your job to find the solution for a floor plan that's not working for you. It's actually really not even close to being your job. And so don't try and solve it yourself. In fact, you need an expert to solve it for you. So don't try and solve it yourself. That's probably the first thing. You'll get yourself in twisted knots and you'll get frustrated, and it's probably not going to work anyway. What you need to do is go back to the brief. This is the first thing you need to do is go back to the brief and your core objectives and your non-negotiables, but you need to be really, really, really need to check, what did I communicate with my architect, building designer, draftsman about what I was trying to create? And when I'm looking at that floor plan, how is that floor plan meeting my brief, meeting my objectives, meeting the requirement that I set out for my building designer to create the floor plan for me? So you really need to get quite an analytical in terms of how have they responded to the brief, and really they should be answering that question for you when they're presenting their floor plan to you. This is how we have responded to your brief. And I do this on a daily basis with our clients when I'm responding to our clients' briefs about their internal elevations or their material specifications. I'm always referring back to the brief. This is how we've responded to your brief. So first and foremost, your building designer should have done that with you. And then you can flesh out how it's been created for you based on your brief. Regardless, you still should be looking, you'll have time to review your plans. And this is when you realize, oh, it's not turning out exactly as I wanted. So then refer back to the brief and see how it has actually been designed around your core objectives, your non-negotiables, maybe some of the things you had on your wish list, and see how that has been prepared for you as a floor plan, the response to your brief. Then you should be able to then go back to your building designer, architect, draftsman. I'm going to start just using building designer for simplicity here, to then actually get them to review those floor plans. This is not working for me. You need to be really clear about, not providing the solution, but giving them an opportunity to respond, to provide a solution for you in what's not working for you in that floor plan. So it may be, oh, I'm feeling like the mudroom's not big enough, or I really feel I need a better connection. If I just think about a sanity check that I did for a client, it was, I really want to be able to open my front door and look out to my beautiful view. So that's your goal. And then the design response has to meet that goal. So go back with the things that you're struggling with, the things that are not quite meeting the mark for you, and give them an opportunity to respond. The other thing that you can do, and this is where I get engaged a lot, is someone or clients will come to me and say, look, I'm quite happy with my floor plan. I feel that it's pretty good, but I want to make sure I'm not missing anything. And that's great timing, because if you're going to make any changes, you want to make sure that you're doing it at floor plan stage. So that's when you can get another expert, another set of expert eyes, professional eyes to go over your floor plan. So that might be another architect. It might be an interior designer that's going to be looking at things from a completely different perspective, and very much on an internal perspective, to look at things differently. And that is where a service such as mine, a floor plan sanity check, could actually help you really flesh out, yeah, is this, hitting the mark? And of course, when I'm looking at a floor plan and doing a floor plan sanity check, I'm always wanting to understand what are your objectives, your lifestyle goals, so that I can use that lens to actually look at the floor plan and see if it really is actually working for the people it's meant to be designed for. Um, the other sort of the last port of call, if you're really not getting any traction, you're really not feeling it's hitting the mark, and look, it's you're going to spend so much money. There's going to be so much, emotional input. So you really want to make sure your floor plan's right. And if at floor plan stage you really don't feel, you don't feel that it's right, or you really don't feel that you've gone through quite a long journey with your architect or your building designer, and you just don't feel that there's an understanding there, it may be time to cut your ties and cut your losses, as difficult as that may be, and as difficult it is from a financial perspective because you've invested so much. But having said that, you're going to invest so much more, and you're going to regret so much more building bricks and mortar of something you already know before you've even poured the slab that it's not right. Please don't go down that path. Please pull the pin before you actually just push so much money into a home that you know is really not going to give you what you want. And it may be that you need to change architects. Now, there have been instances where I've been working with clients and I've done a floor plan sanity check, and there have been so many things for them to think about, so many things that I've put on the table, things that I haven't thought have been designed in the best way. And then it's like, you'll need to go back. And it's actually at that point that they've pulled the pin and they've said, you know what, I don't actually think this building designer really gets what we're trying to create or gets what we're trying to achieve, and their proposition in their floor plan in coming back to us is really not hitting the mark. And the building designer may be stumbling as well as, I really don't have another solution for you. I don't think that I can flesh this out in a different way. And if that's the case, it's probably time to move on. It's probably time to find someone else. It's difficult, and please don't think I'm being fickle here. I know how hard it is to have to draw the line and say, I'm going to find someone else, and then you go through that process again. But I think what I really wanted to highlight to you today was there are lots of steps before you need to get to that final port of, okay, I need to say goodbye and find someone else. I think there's lots of stages in between that you can really give your building designer the opportunity to, work on the areas that you feel need work, that you can still have this dialogue, this conversation, why it's not hitting the mark for you. And there's so many steps in between before you get to that final part of, okay, I need to cut my losses. So I hope that that gives you the steps that you can now, especially for Laura, because that was something that she raised in the group. And I just felt it was something that comes to me frequently, and that's why I wanted to touch on it today. It wasn't actually a direct question, but it was certainly in response to a question that I had asked within the group, and other people had commented on things as well. And as usual, we had lots of people within the group, and there's certainly some really frequent commenters and people that are really contributing on a frequent basis, as well. So hopefully that's answered your query, Laura Beth. I think one of the other things that I see happen a lot is clients are trying to find a solution. People that I see are trying to create the solution as well. That's not what you've employed a building designer to do. You don't need to find the solution. You just need to explain to them why it's not working so that they can come up with a solution. Okay, so the other thing now, has anyone got any questions on that? Has anyone got any questions on um, something what I've just commented on now, what I've just gone through around floor plans? Has that posed any questions for you where you're thinking, well, hang on, how do I go about doing this? Or, by all means, pop a note in the comments and I can answer it now. So the next thing I wanted to, and if not, I will keep going with the next question that I had, which is from CJ. And she posed the question knowing that I was going to go on today and she can't often be on the call at 1 o'clock, is around finger pull. Finger pull cabinetry versus cabinetry with handles. And I have covered this off in the podcast and I will pop that in response to your query, CJ, because I do cover this off in the podcast. But I will quickly just cover it off here. For those of you who are unaware, when you are doing a finger pull cabinetry, which creates that very seamless or very slick look in your kitchen or anywhere else actually that you're having cabinetry, not to have handles, very seamless look. It does mean though, in most instances, not all, but in most instances, well, in all instances, you are going to lose some sort of storage on the inside of your drawer. How much really depends on the material you're using, whether you can get something prefabricated that's already got the shark nose edge or another sort of edge, and more thermal wrap are providing those edging. You can get a 2-pack door that provides that edging, and that means that you're not losing as much. In the days of yore, well, not that long ago, really, that cabinet maker actually had to create that finger pull. So you had to create a gap so that you could get your finger in the gap to be able to pull the drawer, and that would mean that you're losing 8 to 10 centimeters. Now it's sort of not so much, particularly if you are getting those preformed drawer fronts. So you might be losing anywhere between 5 and 80 mil in the internal storage requirements of the drawer. And if storage is a premium for you, that may not be something that you're willing to sacrifice to have a finger pull front. So then you go for a handle where you're not going to lose any internal dimension within the drawer, and then you use handles. So I suppose to answer your question, CJ, yes, you are going to lose space inside with a finger pull. I'd encourage you to have a look at the different types of materials available with a finger pull so that you can then work out, you can use a material with like for a thermal wrap, for example, that has got a preformed door or drawer front, that then means you're not losing as much space as what it used to be when you were having a cabinet maker produce that finger pull for you. So yes, that is something to consider when you are choosing your cabinetry and the actual design of your kitchen. It does need to be designed for. You need to have a very specific, you need to have the allowance to allow your fingers to get in there. And obviously, you don't want it too tight because, particularly if you've got large fingers, men have got really large fingers, it's very hard for them to get their fingers in there to actually pull the drawer. So that is something to consider. Sometimes people like the aesthetic of the handles. Sometimes people like it to be very flush and very streamlined, and they don't want to have the actual handle on there. So yes, CJ, you need to think about what is going to work for you and how much of that space is going to be a premium. Measure things, how they're going to fit in the drawers, and really do that homework before you actually finalize the design. Now, the other thing that I forgot to mention, not forgot to mention, that I wanted to mention today was there's a great resource available for you that could help with, or helps with lots of things. But the book that I've written, Your Forever Home, you can actually access the first 3 chapters of that book for free. And I've actually entered the link for that in the notes. So you can actually, in the title of the post details, you can actually see I've got a link there that will actually take you to that resource. That is just downloaded all the time. It's our number one resource that we provide for free that people are downloading. So I wanted to mention it here in case you haven't actually got access to that as yet. It's the first 3 chapters from my book, Your Forever Home, that you can download for free. And see if it's something for you. See if it's got the information. You'll see the index there so you can see all the chapters that are covered in the book. And then you'll be able to read the first full 3 chapters in that resource. So by all means, go in and download it for free. You get instant access to the book. If you ended up wanting to buy the book, I still have hard copy ones that you can dog ear and highlight, which I know a lot of people do. When you become a client of ours, you get the book for free anyway. I give that to you as part of a welcome to welcome you on board with White Pebble. But by all means, go and access that free resource. Now, have I got any other questions? This is a Q&A. I get the questions sometimes posed to me prior, like I have today. But if you've got any questions, please do come and put your questions in the comment. Facebook keeps changing the format of these lives. So for someone that is so technically challenged as myself, I really wish they would just leave it. So every time I go in each month, it looks the same and I know how to work it. But every time I go in, every month I go in, it looks different. I've got to enter different things in, and it sort of just makes me a little bit uneasy. So I know that you can add some comments in there. By all means, do, and I'll answer your question. Now, I am going to let me see if this works. I would love to ask you a question, and I'd love for you to reply, even if you're watching this as the recording. And you're watching this on a different channel, a different medium, could you please, I'd love it if you could answer the questions for me. So I'm going to post it as a poll, and then you can answer live now. And I don't even know if when it is recorded and you watch this at a later date, whether that poll actually works. So let me see. Here we go. Activate poll. Let's see if this works. I would love it. I've created a poll there. You may need to scroll. I'm actually not sure how it works. So I'm going to read out the question, and that is, what type of what type of course would help you with your renovation or new build journey? And this is clearly specifically for creating a forever home, because it's such a different journey when you're flipping a house to when you're creating a forever home. So I would love, oh, look, it even comes up on the screen. This is all very fancy for me. So I'd love it if you could answer that question. What type of course would help you with your renovation or new build journey? The first one is how to select the materials, fittings, and colors with confidence. So, what type of materials you need to choose, how they go together, the fittings, do you know what color, what type of fitting, so and then all the colors. So, is that something that would really help you? Or could it be interior design blueprint to create your forever home? So, all the things you need to know from an interior design perspective, from drawings to material selections to fitting selections, to furniture, spatial awareness, space flow, all of those things. So, an interior design blueprint to create your forever home. Or the final one is a step-by-step process to create your forever home, right from selecting the site. How do you know you're choosing the right site? All the way through to getting the keys to your brand new home, being it brand new, renovated, or a brand new home. Which of these, if any, because you could also answer another one, would actually be a course that you would find really helpful for you for your journey? If you can answer, I'd be ever so grateful. Um, and if you've got any questions, please pop them in and I will answer those for you too. Now, I'm hoping that the poll stays open afterwards so that I know people watch this recording after I've done it live, that they do watch the recording. They're not able to join necessarily at 1 o'clock, and that they're able to do the poll as well. But I'd be very interested to hear your responses. You know what? I'm really disappointed with Facebook. It would always tell me who was joining, and I could say hello to you, and I can see you personally, and I know a lot of you personally, and it won't tell me anymore. So it makes me really upset that I can't actually say hello to you using your first name like I always do and I always like to, because it's not actually telling me, which is very frustrating. So yeah, Facebook went down today, and Facebook is not being my friend in changing everything all the time. So, lovely viewers, that is my live for today. If you do want to squeeze a question in, by all means, please squeeze it in, because I'd love to stay here and answer it for you. Otherwise, I will be back as normal. I've just realized the first Tuesday of the month, next month in November, is actually Cup Day. And I'm likely to be on the farm. I'm not sure what's going to happen. Let's just say I'll be here. I think that I'm going to commit to this. I think that I can still be here. Internet is a bit sketchy down at the farm, but that'll be the 2nd of November. But if I'm not, there will be questions that I can answer. So still pose your questions if you know you're not able to join at 1 o'clock. So, everyone, thank you for joining today. And thank you for answering the poll. You have answered the poll. So, thank you so much for that. And I'll see you here next month. Have a great month. For those of you in lockdown, I hope it's all going to end so very soon. I think for New South Wales and Victoria, my next live, we will be out of lockdown. And that is a good news story for all of us. So, thanks so much for joining today. And I'll see you next month. Bye for now. Bye bye.